Or sometimes a familiarity is what you need. It has been one of the worst 2 weeks I've had at work in a long, long time. So I wanted to come somewhere that I knew, that gives me the type of scene I really enjoy, somewhere I could just switch my brain off and not actually have to work too hard. I've been working a week, as I'm sure many of you have, and I just needed something simple. My poor little brain couldn't cope with finding new locations, seeking out new compositions. I needed something where I could rock up and go, there you go, it's there. And that's what I've got this morning. As per, the forecast has been changing constantly. We have got mist and fog, but not in the quantities I was hoping for. And we have boats, we have relatively still water. And I've got a couple of compositions in mind already. I'm just going to have a play around with the long lens. I'm not sure if you'll see from there, but down here there is a solitary boat with a lovely misty background that will make quite a nice standalone minimal image. And then with probably the 17-55 lens, we have these 3 boats here, blue, white and yellow. I love that yellow boat. It just adds a real splash of colour in an otherwise grey and murky day. So I'm going to get on and have a nosy round, and I'll catch up with you in a bit. Now, I've got the 70-200 lens on, and I've just tried a couple of handheld shots. I still have the ISO up at 1600 from when we were shooting the squirrels last weekend, and it's just enabling me to get a feel for what type of image I'm going to get. Now that one, because we're shooting in landscape orientation, just breaks all the rules, because the subject, which is the boat, is on the right hand side of the image, where it would feel more comfortable to me if it was on the left hand side of the image. But the 3 boats together I shall probably take with the 17-55. That works really well. That's shooting at 70mm on the 70-200, and I'm still at f2.8 rather. And although it's noisy as hell, it actually works quite well. There's just enough room either side that at 70mm I can have no cluttering. There's a couple of buoys, one in the background, that I'm going to clone out, and I'm missing this rock down here, and I've just got the masts and the reflection. So I'm going to pop it on the tripod, and that will enable me to drop the ISO down. I don't need any filters. It's about as steady as it's going to get. And having a collar on this means I can just plonk the foot into the head, tighten it up, and then move the collar around. So let's zoom all the way in. I want it to be kind of minimal, slightly. That's better, because I want the boat, the actual subject, quite a way over to the left. Using the onboard spirit level. Yep, that's fine. So let's get this ISO turned down to something like sensible. Go back onto mirror. Right, there is barely a breath of wind. We don't want to be on f2.8, to be perfectly honest. Now, just to give me a guide, exposure time, I'll stick it onto manual exposure and see what the camera's telling me. You have all these things, all these functions on your camera, and so many times you don't use them because, oh, it's not the done thing. Why not? They're there. They're there for a reason. It doesn't make you a better or a worse photographer, I don't believe, because you're using something that the camera has given you. Now my white balance on that is 6250, and it's not that blue, so I'm just going to wind it up to 6670. I'm on mirror up. It's not a lengthy exposure, because although there isn't much wind, there is a little breath of wind, and it's just enough to move the boat if I leave it for too long. That's giving me, oh, a second. And the plan, oh dear, what's going on up there? The plan is to black and white it. That's it, there we are with focus. So it's very, very slightly drizzling, which is a little bit frustrating. Well, I can think of worse places to be. It's about 3/4 an hour after sunrise, and I knew it wasn't going to happen. It's 100% heavy cloud. I just wish there had been more mist down this way. So I've stuck with the 70 to 200. I've moved right back up the shoreline because I wanted to get a bit of space around these central three boats. The blue one at the end, they just don't behave themselves, these boats. There is a little bit of movement from the breeze, and it is a very, very slight breeze. But there's an inlet to the lake over here, and water's fair trapping down there. There's obviously a lot of water coming down from the hills. So I did manage a couple of images where I had the boats at one point facing that way, and at one point sort of facing towards me, but kind of not quite right at me, and they were all in the same direction, which was what I wanted. And I love this yellow boat. It just adds a little splash of colour to an otherwise grey and dreary day. Now the blue boat that I shot in portrait orientation to start with, let's just zoom out a little bit. We're coming out to 135mm. And I'm putting the boat on the right third of the image. Well, I will do when I can get that to stay. Straighten my horizon. That's it. Right, refocus. I cannot, for some reason, focus using live view with this thing. It doesn't work. 1/3 of a second. Yeah, the ambient light's increased considerably, and that's just a bit too bright. So we'll drop that down. That's better. This is really a waiting game. Just waiting for the boats to turn at the right angle, a uniform angle, that they're all pointing in the same direction. And never work with children and animals, they say. I think the same goes for boats moored on the water. And I should really swap out to the 17 to 55 for this shot, but I'm getting enough space around the image with the three boats for them not to feel crowded. I've positioned them centrally in the image. I don't think it's going to be a square crop. It's still going to be my favoured 4 by something or other, because I prefer that form. It's very rare I like a square image, but the mist in the background is wonderful. It's just creating enough separation between the boats and the mountains or the hills in the distance. You know they're there, but they're not overpowering. The emphasis is purely on the boats. So it's just a waiting game. I'll see you in a bit. Well, this morning's not been about creating amazing images. It's been about not putting pressure on myself and just relaxing. Sometimes it's enough to just sit, listen to the birds, watch the mist rolling over the hills, and seeing what images unfold before you. I know my photography has suffered over the last few weeks because of the pressures of work. So today, admittedly, had we had an amazing sunrise, possibly been a different case, but I had decided that this morning was going to be a chill out, relax. If I get an image, I get an image. If I don't, it's no big deal. I just want to relax. And I can slowly feel myself coming down. Sitting here listening to the birds, watching the mist rolling over the hills. It really is beautiful. It's the end of March. It's ridiculously mild. I think we're at about 4 or 5 degrees. There's a lot of vehicles up here, but I haven't seen many people yet. Most sane people are still in bed. But something caught my eye. This little wooden boat here, called Moon Dance, I think it is, or Moonbeam. And the wind, or the breeze, is very, very slowly turning it round, and I was just looking for a composition that purely focused on that. The mist is covering the hills in the background. So I've swapped out and put the 17 to 55 on, and I was shooting at, where are we? f6.3, 1/15 of a second, and the usual ISO 100. I did try it at f2.8 to try and isolate it yet more from the background. Where are we? That one. But with the f2.8, I was getting the front of the boat in focus and really out of focus at the back of the boat, and I wasn't happy with that. But it's a lovely little wooden boat. Kind of suits the day. It's a very pale, dusty, minty colour, and it really does suit its surroundings. So I'm just going to chill around here a little more. I think I've seen another image there, which I'm going to try and take before the breeze picks up. Let's see, we have an island here with some layers behind it, and I'm thinking the long lens, that might make quite a decent shot. So before the wind picks up and ruins the reflections altogether, I'm going to take a photo.